Hello, everyone, and welcome to Go-to-Market AI, the future of your go-to-market tech stack. I'm your host, Sarah McConnell. These days, it seems like every company has AI, but on this show, we want to go a level deeper so you can see firsthand how businesses are actually applying AI to solve your business challenges. We're going deep into the use cases and showing you live demos of the latest and greatest in AI technology. Today, I'm joined by Parthi Loganathan, CEO at Letterdrop. Parthi, welcome to the show. I'm so excited you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So first up, I would love to know, who is Letterdrop? What do you guys do? And who are you helping on the market?
Absolutely. So Letterdrop is a product for B2B marketers. And what we do is we help those companies identify, create, and distribute content that actually drives revenue. Our goal is to help companies build more organic inbound so that they can be less reliant on cold outbound and paid, which are just less efficient, especially in this market environment that we're currently in. We're currently working with lots of customers, probably in the 50 to 1,000 employee range. Some logos you might recognize are companies like Synthesia, Gorgeous, Ramp, Gem, Pscript, etc.
Perfect. Well, all those things that you just talked about, being less reliant on outbound, driving revenue, those are music to my ears as someone in marketing and demand gen. So I am very excited to jump into this demo. So if you don't mind, let's get into the demo. Let's see what it's like behind the scenes.
So I'm just going to give you a quick preview. So I'm giving you an introduction about where this company comes from. So I used to be a product manager on the search team at Google. Which is why I kind of saw how people were tackling SEO, which is where Letterdrop really started. And we've kind of evolved from SEO to thinking about inbound marketing more holistically. And we went through YC, and over the past 2 years, we've helped well over 100 marketing teams. Like I mentioned before, the goal is to help companies identify, create, and distribute content that actually drives revenue. I feel like historically, a lot of people really don't understand how organic ties back to revenue, and then they waste a lot of resources investing in stuff that doesn't actually move the needle. And so we've helped a bunch of companies over here actually figure that journey out. Companies like Scribe, they're especially the smaller ones where we see them go on that rocket ship trajectory using Letterdrop has been really exciting, going from something like 6,000 to well over 100,000 in qualified traffic with a 13% conversion rate. It's been really exciting helping those kinds of customers actually figure out their inbound motion. And the reason we do this is because we think, we know that cold outbound is getting harder every year. And that's why folks like Qualified exist to help you actually identify who you should be going after as well. We also know that paid is not efficient, especially since market conditions have changed. Money is no longer free for a lot of companies. You have to think a little bit more carefully about your CAC. And so we're trying to figure out, what does the future of organic inbound really look like? I think companies like HubSpot really defined this in the 2000s, but things have really changed since then with AI and the platforms people are using and how people are really thinking about their data. And so that's where Letterdrop comes in. We're really thinking about what inbound 2.0 looks like. And the real question is, how do we do this? We break this down into 3 parts. The first is actually helping you understand the buyer journey and what's blocking sales. This is going to actually inform what types of marketing campaigns you want to be running. So we integrate with LinkedIn, Clearbit, your CRM, your sales call software to actually pull in that data and help you understand what content, what channels are actually impacting your buying decision. Second thing we do is help you create and defend the assets which actually drive pipeline. So across our customers, what we discover is that it's a minority of their content, their campaigns that actually move the needle. And so what we want to help companies do is focus on those, double down on those, and make sure that those are the ones that they're putting out into the world so that they can actually repeat these successful buying journeys that they had previously. And finally, after creating those assets, we help them distribute them. How do you get these in front of your buyers? So distributing to your website, to YouTube, LinkedIn, really focus on where B2B buyers work. And so a little bit of a bias towards that, and eventually get people to your website so you can use tools like Qualified to actually close the loop and convert them over there.
Yeah, this is
So yeah, love talking about qualified as well. I think all of these MarTech tools and sales tech tools really work together. It's really about which part of the funnel everybody's working at. So let's talk about step one in that process I mentioned earlier. I'm going to jump into a demo now, is identifying what is actually driving revenue across your website, across LinkedIn, and across your sales calls, or what's blocking revenue over there. And so with Letterdrop, we connect into all of these platforms, your CRM, your sales call data, your website data, and then we actually help you understand what is your content source pipeline. What did people, which deals came in because they read something or they consumed some content and they're like, hey, that's interesting, I want to check this out. How much of your pipeline, which deals are being accelerated by content? So essentially, how many of them are being how much of this content is sales enablement, where folks are continuing to consume this during the sales cycle before they're close won or close lost? And finally, how many of your deals and what revenue is actually influenced by content in any capacity throughout this? And so once you actually have these numbers, and once again, these are lower bound numbers, there's still a lot of parts of the dark funnel that can't be captured, but this gives you a good baseline. You can actually understand where you want to invest your energy. So you can say, hey, these are the pages which are kind of our money pages. These are the ones which actually drive revenue. These are topics which are resonating with people. And we want to make sure that they're not dropping in SEO rankings. We want to make sure we're sharing them in our newsletter. We want to make sure we're turning this into LinkedIn posts and putting it in front of people because we know they've historically worked for us. We can help you dive down at a page level so you can actually understand how people are coming here. Search traffic, organic traffic, what's this page's influence on revenue and pipeline, and who's actually visiting these pages. We integrate it into your identity provider, whether that be Clearbit, 6sense, ZoomInfo, whatever you use. We essentially help you actually activate that data from a marketing standpoint. You can actually understand what the buyer journey looks like for one of these individual accounts as well. So we'll say like, hey, these are the different accounts in your website. Here's what they're really consuming, essentially. Like this company over here really cares about social selling and SEO, for example. And if I click in, I can actually understand what's going on. So I can see this company over here, we actually have a deal open in our HubSpot CRM. We know the value. We can see the sales calls that they've had. We can see when they've engaged with LinkedIn posts that we've created. We can see the website visits that they've had. And so you can actually really understand, like, what was this buyer's journey? What were all the touch points they had before they eventually took a call and became a customer? And then from the calls also, will help you understand, like, what do they talk about during those calls as well, so that you can actually understand the questions that you might want to unblock with future content. So now that you have a good understanding of what has historically driven revenue and what is blocking revenue, you can actually inform your future marketing campaigns. And so we're going to transition into sort of stage 2 of Letterdrop, which is how do we actually create this content? And so with Letterdrop, our goal is to make it very low friction to help you create these assets once you know what you want to create. And the way in which we believe AI should be used is it's not raw ChatGPT. It's not just getting an LLM to output stuff. If you don't like consuming AI content, like a lot of people probably shouldn't be creating AI content as well, because that's the experience you're giving to your buyers. And so our belief around AI and content is really using AI to sort of streamline the creation process. How do you essentially transform a thought that a informed marketer or salesperson or product person had and turn that into actual assets? So to that end, we do things like collect samples from you in terms of, hey, what do you want to sound like? What are templates you might have for different platforms? So for example, on LinkedIn, you might say, hey, this is what I sound like when I'm giving people advice with an analogy, or here's what I sound like when I do a product launch. And so we really learn what you want to do and how you want to frame things. We do the same with your company. We learn things about your style guide, information about your company, your different personas, features, and how they map back to these personas. And all this stuff influences how AI actually creates your content. So let's jump into what that creation process actually looks like. So for example, if you were starting with a completely blank page and you wanted to write a blog post for your website based on some information you gathered earlier, what you could do in Letterdrop is go click on Generate First Draft. And what we will do for you is a couple of things. Either we can give you a research dump and just go do a whole bunch of research for you and just parse it for you and give it back to you so that you can make sense of it. Or if you want to give AI a chance at generating a first draft, you can actually guide it by giving it a brief. You can choose the persona that you're selling to. Then you can give it a couple bits of other information. You click on generate. It'll take a couple of minutes to do research for you, and I'll get back to you with something like this. So this is pretty decent. It's not just ChatGPT. It's actually using a whole bunch of sources. It's actually understanding all the top pages ranking on Google. If you don't want some of them, you can move them out. You can see qualified in here. This is actually a keyword that qualified ranks for. And it puts together an outline for you. It tries to follow best practices, putting in FAQs. We remember how we said like we're targeting VPs of marketing. In this case, it thinks our product is Letterdrop because I'm in our workspace. It's trying to call us out. It's doing all this stuff, and it's making sure all these sections are things that the top pages cover. This is a good baseline, but we would highly recommend you don't publish this. Like, we're not asking people to publish AI content. We're just saying like, hey, here's how you cut down time on research and get started. From here, what you can do is really do things like, hey, I want to get somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. So if I wanted Sarah to pop in and record herself, and I don't know if this is your email, but I'm just going to drop it down. I didn't ask Sarah a question. There we go. So I'm going to ask you a question, and then it'll make it really easy to essentially it'll go out there and it'll interview you and get back a nice quote from you. And we'll add captions, we'll add your company logo, and it's ready to publish to YouTube and embed in your blog post and pull out all the insights you had into your content. So not only are we giving you a good baseline, but we're actually helping you unravel those insights, unique insights from people who actually know what they're talking about, and introduce that into your content, because that's really important. You don't want to be the same as every one of our customers can use this tooling. It's more about how you use this tooling with your data to stand out. We don't want to encourage everyone to be the same. So lots of stuff like that. You can also drop in video, audio, podcasts, and Letterdrop will essentially pull from those. So you can pull out insights. You can say, hey, I want to get a bunch of quotes from this podcast episode over here. And then we'll just pull those for you and insert them in here. So you can really mix and match with a lot of different media formats to construct really good content. So now that you have this in place, we'll actually help you figure out, okay, how do I make sure that this gets seen by people? And we help with 3 channels. One is Google and your website. The second is LinkedIn. And the third is sales enablement. I'm going to focus on Google and SEO right now. And so this is the kind of tooling that companies like Ramp, Scribe, etc. have used to drastically increase their qualified traffic over the past year by actually figuring out, okay, how do we answer search intent and give people great information instead of trying to game the system? And so Letterdrop will actually help you understand, okay, how do I understand what people are looking for? Should I even be writing an article? Maybe I need a video. What's the loose conversion likelihood based on what we know of this keyword and what people are looking for and what you do as a company, so that you can be very aligned with the search that someone's performing. And then we can get into competitive gap analysis. So understanding, hey, what have you covered that others have covered, or what have others covered that you haven't covered? And so you can see a lot of this is blue and covered because our AI took a best guess at trying to cover everything, but it kind of fell short in some places and saying hey, there's something that InsideSales.com talked about that you didn't talk about. Do you want to fill in this gap? So you can essentially close that gap between your competitors and you from an information standpoint. We can also help you go above and beyond and add net new information. So you can say hey, why am I writing this article? It'll give you a whole bunch of ideas on how you can answer questions that nobody else is talking about. And lots of other stuff in here, like answering featured snippets. People also ask the usual keyword coverage stuff. This is kind of like old school SEO. We have it, but I think SEO is really evolving with AI. And so we're really helping companies think about the future of this. And then lots of other basic stuff that people need to figure out, like internal linking, which pages on your website should link to each other. We'll insert those in for you. Or if you wanted to look across your website, and give me 1 second. If you want to look across your website for content, if I want to find every instance of SEO across my website, I can do that. And I can also go hyperlink it to a product page or another blog post. So essentially a lot of stuff that an SEO agency would do for you, Letterdrop essentially compresses it. As long as you have a good marketer, like using Letterdrop, you could honestly get away without having an agency for all of the technical expertise. It abstracts it away for you. So that was the creation side of things. The last part of Letterdrop that I want to talk about is actual distribution. So we'll publish this all this directly to your site. So from here, I can publish this directly to our website. I can select all of our metadata, and we connect with Webflow, HubSpot, WordPress, Contentful, whatever you use, we'll take care of it. What's more is we'll also help you figure out how do you redistribute this content. So beyond your website and SEO, we're also trying to figure out how do you take these great ideas and actually turn them into things that you can use on other channels. For B2B, LinkedIn is that big channel. And so you can connect your entire team's LinkedIn account to Letterdrop. So you can see I have my entire go-to-market team connected over here. And I can essentially write on their behalf. I can say generate LinkedIn post, and I can essentially drop in either an existing blog post, some loose ramblings or thoughts, and select from one of the templates that I've created. And Letterdrop will essentially take your thoughts, take your template, and mush them together into something that you can actually put out. So you get human-sounding content that actually has good ideas because it's actually coming from a good source, but the AI essentially just formats it for you and puts in the right template. And if you put in quotes and stuff like that, it will actually pull those for you. So that's creation. But how do you actually get this LinkedIn post seen? So that's where Letterdrop comes in and helps you actually enable your team. So not only should you be posting from your entire sales team's account, and I think if you're running an ABM play like some of our customers, you actually do want your execs, you do want your SDRs, you do want your AEs showing up as thought leaders. And so this lets your marketing team kind of fill in that gap for them without them having to waste time, so that they can stay on their calls and you can write for them. But moreover, you can actually get them to comment with or without their permission. You can get them to like. So I can say, hey, I want my sales and marketing team to like this post automatically. That'll happen once again with or without their permission. Depends on completely on how comfortable your company is. And then we'll schedule this out for you. And so now you get this content to be seen not only by whoever Paul has in his audience, but also by people in Zach's audience as well. And so this essentially helps you extend the reach of your LinkedIn content. We can do this immediately after the post goes out, or we can also like time delay it so that if you want the LinkedIn algorithm to do its thing and get it in front of the right people, and then you're just like, okay, cool, it did its thing. Now I want my sales team to come in and further boost it. You can do that. You can also do this with partner posts. So Emily Kramer, for example, if she has a great post and I want to get her attention, I'm prospecting into her, or I want to boost a partner who's talking positively about us, I can just copy your LinkedIn post into Letterdrop and I can just boost it. And so what this does is, it helps Emily out, but also I can sort of essentially get my team to essentially boost or draw attention to any LinkedIn post out there, whether that be a partners, a customers, or somebody you're prospecting into. The last way in which Letterdrop helps you get content back to your buyers is through our Gong integration or any sales call integration. And so when we remember how we listened to those calls in the first place and we got all of those insights over here, the sales calls insights that I showed you over here. Well, we do the inverse as well, where when we take all of these insights or when we hear an objection, we'll also actually tell your rep, hey, we heard an objection on this call. Here's all the content that we have, and we think you should share this case study, share this guide with this person to progress the conversation further and close the sales cycle faster. All this comes back and influences the numbers I showed you earlier. So this is going to come back and help you with your content accelerated pipeline. And so this is this virtuous cycle that we're creating where we help you identify the right stuff, create it, distribute it, and collect that data again so that you can move these numbers and then iterate on your marketing campaigns. And so that's a quick overview of Letterdrop. I think what we're really trying to figure out is how does like workflow automation plus AI plus data work together seamlessly so that you can actually build this organic flywheel for your business and reduce your reliance on paid and outbound.
Yeah, this is incredible. There's a few particular things that I think my eyes kind of lit up as a marketer. First, these here, your source pipeline, accelerated pipeline, and influenced revenue. I love that just right here at the very beginning, I can see different types of content because I feel like not all content is going to do the same thing for your business. You're not going to create the same type of content to source pipeline as you are to accelerate deals through. Those are going to be vastly different types of content. So I love that you've built into Letterdrop those different metrics. So I can go look at the content. I like you use the word defend. I can go look at what content is performing for these key metrics, defend the time that we spent doing them, and then double down on that content. I think as teams, we spend a lot of time, I know internally, thinking about, we put out a lot of content. How do we repurpose it? And I think a lot of marketers use that term of repurpose. And I can see here where Letterdrop and these metrics help you actually repurpose the content that is benefiting your business most. It's not just me guessing at what content is worth repurposing. You're telling me through metric-driven insights, like this is the content that you want to spend time with. And these are the ones I should actually invest my resources into repurposing and cutting down and making, all these different posts for. So I loved this and your LinkedIn integration. I know our execs are asking all the time, like, how can we post more? Our sales team wants to post on LinkedIn, but they're not writers. Like they say it, they're like, we don't have the ability, like we think there's really great content. We don't know how to post about it or what to write. And alternatively, marketing teams are getting smaller and we're like, we don't have the time necessarily to write all of these posts for you, but we want our people out there in those channels promoting the content we've written. So I love that functionality, the ability to link to our go-to-market team's LinkedIns and help them post more because they're asking that from us as a marketing team right now. We just don't always have the resources to do it. So this was an awesome demo. Thank you so much for taking us through this. I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Yeah. So I'd love to jump into, before we wrap up, our Q&A section. So my first question for you is, how long have you been building AI into Letterdrop?
Yeah. So Letterdrop started probably a little before I'd say like AI kind of went mainstream. So when we initially started Letterdrop, I think it was just GPT-3 and its like infancy that was out there. And we were really not thinking about how AI fits in. I think as soon as GPT 3.5 came out, you started looking at these use cases and you were like, hey, this is actually starting to get more interesting. So it's probably been a little over a year that we've been actually incorporating AI into Letterdrop. So it's not quite AI native, but almost there. I think that's interesting for a couple of reasons, because a lot of our product has been built not necessarily from the perspective that it is an AI first company, which I think is a little bit, it's hard because then you're almost trying to use the technology, you're going technology first and thinking about the problem second, which is not a great place to be. But at the same time, we're not like old enough that we're stodgy and haven't adapted to AI. So a lot of our software was built in conjunction with whatever was possible with AI in the moment. And I think that's changing. Every couple of months, a new model comes out, the frontier of what is possible changes. And so we're constantly thinking about that as well. I think this is just kind of like the new web or the new mobile, where you're still thinking about solving people's problems, you're just using different technology in there. We no longer say, hey, that's a web company or that's a mobile company. We just say, hey, it's a software company which happens to use the web or mobile. And I think that's the same thing with AI.
Totally. Okay, next question is what you showed today, is this all available for customers right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Live demo. So everything you saw today is available to customers right now. And we have a lot of our existing customers using a bunch of this functionality.
Perfect. And I know in the beginning you kind of talked about some customers, but I'd love to give them some shout outs again. Who are some customers that are currently using Letterdrop and benefiting from your technology?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the customer I'm most excited about is definitely Scribe, because it's kind of an underdog story where we've seen like the largest win with them. But we also work with like a lot of like more recognizable larger logos like Gorgeous, Ramp, Synac, Descript, etc. But I think Letterdrop is a really good fit for companies which are kind of on that growth phase where they're really trying to figure out how do we think about efficient growth, given small teams, given like market conditions, and all that. And I think Letterdrop really works when all this comes together. I'd say we're working with a lot of our customers to try to help them see the big picture. Different customers use Letterdrop differently based on whether or not they run an ABM program, in which case they're very focused on sales enablement and LinkedIn. Other companies are really focused on SEO and maybe have a PLG motion or have a sales-led motion which lends itself to SEO. And so they focus a lot on that. So it really comes down to what your priorities are, and we help companies use the right tool set within Letterdrop.
Perfect. My next question is, what is next on your AI roadmap?
I think the next thing for us is I showed you a whole bunch of stuff in Letterdrop and how we're trying to create this sort of virtuous flywheel between identification of resources to creation, distribution, going back. And there's a human in the loop at all of these stages. Our goal is to essentially figure out how do we reduce the amount of time people are spending in that loop. And so if Letterdrop identifies an opportunity for you to defend, can it just essentially say, hey, Sarah, like, can you confirm that I can go ahead and put this out on LinkedIn across your entire team's profiles this week and run an automated campaign for this new feature that Qualified has? I already know what all of your team sounds like. You've uploaded templates, etc. It just goes and does that for you. So that's, I think, our goal is trying to figure out how do we essentially connect the dots better between these different tools in Letterdrop and essentially make them more autonomous. I think the other thing we're trying to use AI for is trying to actually help identify or understand your content and how it maps to the buyer journey better. So can we segment all of your content by stage of funnel, persona, feature, exactly what every asset's for and what its purpose is? Can we look at every buyer journey and understand what is the next asset that I need to show them, right? So now you can actually give that to your sales team for sales enablement if they're in cycle and they want to have a conversation. You can start running campaigns, retargeting campaigns with the right asset for those companies. You can start running more organic campaigns or put those in your newsletter. So that's sort of like the next step of Letterdrop, is trying to figure out how do we actually like tie the customer to the actual right piece of content at any piece of time.
Perfect. Well, that is it for today, Parthi. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. This was an incredible demo. I really appreciate you joining us today.